Are you a lonely witch this Christmas? Join me and Leandra today in the Magick Kitchen.
I'm Leandra Witchwood.
And I'm Elyse Welles.
And welcome to the Magick Kitchen Podcast, where we talk about magic, kitchen witchcraft, herbs,
and everything in between.
This episode is releasing on Christmas Day, and this can be a really hard day for recovering Christians. And most witches in the United States especially, and the UK as well, are coming from a background of Christianity. And there's a lot of, there can be a lot of trauma with Christianity, but when it comes to Christmas Day, there's usually a lot of fun things that we don't want to miss out on. Like we have a nostalgic love of doing. And today, me and Leandra are here to keep you company and validate you a little bit in some of the activities you're feeling cravings for. And we're going to talk about how it's not indicative of any, mixed feelings towards being a witch that make you want to celebrate Christmas. There's actually a lot of paganism in Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely.
It's a really fun time of year, and there's no reason for you to no longer enjoy it because you're a practicing witch or because you're pursuing your own spiritual path outside of Christianity. You are still valid in celebrating this turn of the season, which is at the core what Christmas really is about.
Yeah. I think, I resonate with that so easily and readily because I come from that Christian background. I was a missionary. I was in the choir at church growing up. I would do the Christian, festivals and that sort of thing where you sing all the Christmas songs and that sort of thing in front of the church. And, it was a big deal, as it probably still is for most churches. It's a really big deal to sing the songs and attend the events and do all the things. And I think once we transition into paganism, coming from that background, like we can almost get resentful because we don't have that necessarily. Like we tend to walk that solitary path where we don't get that communal engagement anymore. So like how do you be pagan and still go caroling, or how do you be pagan or a witch and I don't know, visit a nativity scene or, just do the simple things, candle vigils, that sort of thing. So yeah, we're here for you this season because we've been there. Definitely.
Yeah. And I think there's like 3 phases almost to this. We're witches, so we'll make it 3. There's phases to this. Like the first phase is like rejection. We're like, okay, Christianity is toxic. It's bad. I hate it. I have trauma around it. I don't want to go near anything that has to do with it. I'm not doing a Christmas tree. I'm not wearing red and green. I'm not even going to get the mocha, whatever, at my coffee shop. Like, I think that happens for a lot of witches. Like we start there, and then we get into this like, well, actually there's a lot of parts of this that we could maybe do. Like I miss community. I really want to do it. And we kind of swing the other way where we just, maybe we just do all of them, but we don't really put our heart in the religious aspect of it. Because at the end of the day, let's be real, like Frosty the Snowman, nothing to do with Jesus. All those lovely Christmas movies we watched as kids, just keep watching them. There's nothing about them
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah, it's just snow. Like it has nothing to do with like baby Jesus. Like it's fine. And same with like getting gifts for our friends and our loved ones. We talk a lot about materialism culture. I'm an advocate for making your own gifts or giving gifts of time or your energy or your skill set, like a voucher for like, I'll help you with this thing. Or anyway, I love gift giving. Well, you can keep doing it.
Well, giving gifts during this time of season is how I got into tea blending. It started off as gifts for
I
friends.
didn't know that.
So really, like, yeah, you don't know where it's going to take you.
Yeah. Like I think there's a lot of like rejection that comes with being a newer witch, where you are afraid to like betray your path by celebrating something else. But the thing is, that's a Christian ideology. Christianity,
Yes,
we're raised in that, where we're told like, oh, the devil is in that thing that is over there. Halloween,
Right.
That's the devil's work. Certain types of clothing, that's the devil's work. Like, there's no evil entity in witchcraft that we're trying to dissuade from sucking our souls or something. Like, we have the power. If somebody's going to curse us, or if we're going to come up against a negative entity somewhere in our path, like, we have the power to dissuade that. And we know it's not going to come from what we wore or what we thought, or, like
what we did.
Yeah, it's just not, there's no sin. We have no sin. There is no sin in witchcraft. Sin is a construct of Christianity. So there's also no betraying it. Like, when you are being true to yourself, you're being true to your path. It doesn't matter if this is an off season for you, if you haven't really felt like showing up at your altar for a little while, you're still a witch. It's about your mindset and your actions. You're not gonna like, lose your witch card because you opened gifts on the 25th of December.
Well, and let's go back to the sin aspect. So many times when you're looking at the idea of sin in the Christian modality, sin is based off of shame, and that's where we can differentiate harm versus sin. Or sin as harm. Like, it's not a sin unless you're harming someone. So when Christians start thinking about, oh, that's sinful to practice witchcraft, is it though? Are you harming someone? Is it really sinful, or is that just a shaming that they are incorporating into keeping you from doing something that they don't approve of? Yeah. Because they were taught by so-and-so from wherever, however, down the line of shame that they have been influenced by. Sin is this thing that the church has really enforced upon everyone, not just Christians and people who, leave the Christian faith to go explore something else. It's this idea that you are shameful and you're wrong for having a different ideal, because they have to keep control. Mm-hmm. And that's what the Christian faith is all about. It's about control. It's about keeping the masses, the sheeple, together, right?
Yeah.
So if we start differentiating sin as harm versus just an activity, then we gain a different perspective of things.
Yeah. 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 That's a great way of looking at it. So in that regard, like, the only way you'd be harming your witchcraft path is if you purposely neglect, to engage with any witchcraft traditions around this time, which there's a lot of ways to adapt the holiday traditions you're used to into the holiday traditions that can be more pagan. Even singing, different Christmas songs, different Christmas carols. Like, we have some pagan songs. Like, you can start teaching your kids these pagan songs. Like, Dave the Bard, he is one of the greatest artists ever. His songs are so catchy. And I listened to an interview with him once on another podcast. Maybe we should have him on, because I really love him.
Yeah.
And
let's say, Dave the Bard, if you're listening, man.
Yeah, please. I love you. And his words are so catchy. And he actually said that he writes them to be sung around a campfire, to be sung around a piano or a guitar player. So he wants pagans to do that. He wants to see you like get up and invite your friends over and, sing his songs. So and we have a lot of, pagan carols, if you will. Like, We All Come From the Goddess. It's a banger.
Yes. It's a classic, man.
Yeah, we've got them. They're just not as vocal. And maybe you can have a Yule get together. A friend of mine, who I hope she's listening, because she'll be like, oh my gosh. She did the coolest idea for her Yule get together last year, where she had everybody kind of like put their wishes for the new year in a pine cone and then throw it on the fire together.
Nice.
Which is a great ritual to do alone. But if you can make it a community thing, her family are all Christian, but they were happy to acknowledge her belief system that way, and they did it on their holiday on Christmas. So everybody won in that regard.
That's really good. But and there's other activities like cookie exchanges so one year, this was my favorite. I don't know if it's because, I just love alcohol, but This one year we went to a friend's house, and what the instructions were is everybody bring a case of your favorite beer or adult drink type thing. So if beer was the easiest because you can buy them in cans and stuff like that, but they have seltzers and stuff that people brought too. So you bring a case, a minimum of, there was like 24 people there. So it was a minimum of 24, a case of 24, which is easy. Most things, you can buy in 24. And when you got there, you took your case, you emptied it onto a table. And then after all the activities and the games and stuff were done, then everybody went through the table and picked one of each of everything that everybody else brought. So you went home with this huge 24 case of different types of beers. And most of them were like seasonal. Like there was a chocolate chip cookie ale, and there was all kinds of really cool different seasonal ales, and then just, people's favorites. So that you had, like, I think somebody brought Sweet Baby Jesus, which was kind of suiting because it was a Christmas thing. So, you can do things like that with friends where it's not necessarily religious, but it's fun and you get to experience something. So you can do that with cookies. You could do that with, I don't know, cupcakes, whatever your circle enjoys.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's your chosen family too. So maybe your real family, your blood family, I'm not going to call them your real family because your chosen family is your real family, but your blood family might want you to celebrate with them, but they're going to do it their way. You do not have to go to church. Like, that is a really hard conversation to have with people, but just, I never like doing that. If somebody's going to pray around the table or whatever, it's fine. Like, you just zone out or, quietly start munching your food. Like, if it's someone else's house, you got to deal. But, like, you do not have to go to church. Like, if somebody invites you over for dinner and you're comfortable going and they're going to be respectful of your beliefs, and it's not really going to be about beliefs, like most Christmas celebrations, it doesn't really come up that it's about, Christianity.
They're not proselytizing at the dinner table. They're usually just trying to be together. Yeah.
So that is like, if you feel like you need permission to not lose your witch card by going to a Christmas event, you have permission. We grant it. Like, go for it. Like, there's no reason to feel ashamed or unsure if that's allowed. Like, you're able to do that.
And just to be clear, like, there's nobody out there taking away witch cards. Just
no, this is a purely metaphorical.
Yes,
card.
It's nobody's out there, scanning your card to make sure that you didn't attend any religious events.
Actually, if we want to extend that metaphor further, your witch card could be your relationship with your spirit guides, your spirit team, the deities that you work with. And maybe that's something that you check in with them about. Like, if you get invited to something, check in with your spirit team. At the end of the day, that's who you need. Yeah. I don't like this word, but if you want permission, that's who you get it from. Like, if you want your gut, if you want your energy compass to feel calibrated, that's who you check in with about that.
Yeah.
It's your comfort level that matters. Yeah. If you'll enjoy the practice, you should go do it.
Right. And maybe even check in with your guides and say, hey, I'm going to this event, and I would appreciate some extra protection or some extra buffering so that I'm not cornered by Uncle Sal who likes to proselytize type thing. You know what I mean?
Yep. And maybe that's where you wear a crystal, or if you're worried about it being too obvious, put it in your pocket. That's going to give you more shielding. Energy protection is really important. And if you're not already subscribed to my newsletter, that's one of the free benefits you get when you sign up is an energy protection guide. And it's really important to have a routine for that if you're going to be going around people that are going to either sap your energy or try to affect your energy. Because this proselytizing, this like convincing of other things, like, let's talk my religion, that people sometimes get into that zone. Like, if that might be a risk, like, it is a great idea to shield and have a practical exit strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. I know I've talked to several friends who have family members that will corner them at family gatherings just to, work on that convincing aspect of, oh, you're going to hell, or you're, all this shaming, going back to the shaming idea.
Yeah. And the fear mongering.
The fear. Yeah. Oh, you're going to hell. Well, I don't believe in hell, so no.
Yeah, exactly.
But, So my one friend has come up with a really good strategy is she will occupy herself with the kids or with activities like cooking or prepping or like helping with the actual event. So she's still interacting with the other people there, but she's busy, quote unquote, busy. So she doesn't give that in for anybody to come and distract her with something that is stressful. Frankly, it's stressful. Like you don't go to a family event to be stressed out. You shouldn't. But I think that becomes that expectation like, oh God, I don't want to go because so-and-so is going to be there and they're going to talk blah, 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 blah. And it's really, I think, you putting out that energy of, I'm not available for this, so don't approach me.
Yeah, that's
and
where
then
the
asking your guys.
help. Exactly.
Yep, and asking your guides to reinforce that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another great thing to remember is that most of the traditions that Christians ascribe to their holiday are actually ours. So Yule is the traditional holiday celebrated at this time. It's a celebration of the darkest time of the year, which you might dislike and be like, why am I celebrating it? But it's a time for introspection. It's a time for solitary, reflective moments. But Yule was traditionally a time to get together and celebrate. It's when you'd bring out whatever the last of the, maybe you'd save one sheep to slaughter together as a family for that festival. Yeah. Or actually a lot of the myth that pagans did ritual sacrifice came from that idea. The idea that you would save an animal to celebrate certain holidays during the winter this way. But anyway, it's a time to get together. And when Christianity started gaining some traction, it was a bit difficult to get pagans to convert because they already had these celebrations in place. And ironically, similar to the way we feel today about not wanting to miss out on these great celebrations with family, they said, okay, well, we need to make Yule Christian somehow. So let's tell them that who's important. Oh, yeah, Jesus. Jesus was born that day. So that's what happened. Like we are just coming full circle in the spiral of life because the Christians took our day and ascribed it to their figure, whereas we were already celebrating. Our ancestors were celebrating this for millennia.
Right. And if you look at it, so the longest night of the year is the night of Yule. And it is also the celebration of the returning of the light because that's when it marks the day when the sun starts growing in strength, quote unquote, growing in strength, because the days start getting a little bit longer day by day. It gets longer, just like in the summer after we, go past Litha, the summer solstice, then we start seeing the days get shorter. So by the time we're in September, October, it's getting really dark at around 5:00, right? So if you look at the parallel myths here, we're celebrating the birth of Christians are celebrating the birth of the sun, where pagans are celebrating the birth of the sun as well, but SON versus SUN.
Oh, yeah, I love that. That's a great way to put that.
Yeah. So it's really just taking the old pagan mythologies and rebranding them, really. Like it's a new marketing tool that the Christians developed to keep people on their side.
Yeah. And it extends even further where the pagans were resistant to celebrating in the way that the Christians thought maybe they should, which is like boring, long church services, right?
Yes.
So the traditions that were associated with Yule started to become associated with Christianity because it was the only way to get them to, quote unquote, celebrate their holiday. Then when the Roman, prefector, the guy who's in charge of that zone, came by and saw the pagan villages celebrating, the guy in charge of that village who couldn't get any of them to convert could say, oh, no, that celebration, that's for Jesus. Don't you know this is the day he was born? Yeah. And they say, oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Previously,
we'll tell the others.
Right. And previously it would have been Saturnalia. And Saturnalia was a ruckus, drunken holiday. It was a lot of fun, So this whole transition is is, taking what was and making it, rebranding it, making it new, making it appear different.
And that goes with some of the things we still do. The Germanic traditions, the, Central European traditions of Christmas trees and evergreen boughs being brought and hung over lintels, which over door frames. That was, it's the same symbol it is today. That was the symbol of long life, of immortality, of fertility. So they brought that in to say, all right, let's stay healthy this year.
Yep. Let's bring in some prosperity. Yeah, definitely. And we still do. Like, we still bring in the colors. Okay, so the red and green colors. Red is typically thought of as the color of life and birth. So you think of, blood being life. So the color red that's typically associated with this time of year is life. It's bringing in that warmth, that vitality that we need to make it through the winter, right? Because winter is cold, it's long, it's dark, it can be discouraging. So it makes sense to have a celebration where we express vitality so that we can rekindle that within ourselves. And then green, of course, that's growth and that's nature and that's prosperity. So bringing all that in, and then, gold and all these colors are all related to prosperity magic and prosperity mindset and life and vitality.
And a good activity you can do to honor that this way, and that your Christian family or neighbors or anyone who might see this or be involved with it, they might want to join you, they won't scoff at it, is building the Yule log.
Yes.
It's a really fun tradition. Some people have like a glass log or a preserved piece of wood that they use year after year. Yeah, you can bake a cake, and it doesn't even really have to look like a log if you're not too... If you're like me and you just need to go basic and symbolic with it.
Use a pumpkin roll and ice it.
I love pumpkin roll.
Yes, it's so good. Must be close to lunchtime. I'm getting hungry.
Yeah. So these are all some ideas that you can take with you for this holiday season. You can hopefully use them today if you're feeling lonely, or if you're listening to this later on, you can use it all through the winter. There's a lot of fun ways to make winter less depressing if you look at the ways that, our ancestors did. We can take that inspiration at any time. The ancestors are always giving us lots of inspiration. Yeah.
And I think that's what it boils down to, is being creative and inspiration. Like, this time of year is about arts and crafts. It's about baking. It's about creating. And I think that really speaks to the idea of renewing that energy. So, as we follow the wheel of the year, each season has its own perspective. So, summertime growth and prosperity and, reevaluating the harvest and then working towards the harvest so that we have in the fall things to reap for our, physical benefit, for, food, for business, whatever it is. And then this time of year, Yule is the dark time of the year. So this is introspection, like Elyse said. And this is when we reevaluate things, when we take ideas that maybe we got in the fall or the summer, and we kind of digest them a little bit and search out their vitality or their viability and see if they will work for us or if it's doable in the grand scheme of things. Before this episode, Elyse and I were sitting down talking about the future of the podcast and where to take it. So like during the winter months, that's when we will sit down individually and decide if what our plans are, if they are going to work for us and how they will work for you, our listeners, and that sort of thing. Yeah. So it's really a time to think and digest and gestate what your ambitions are.
Yeah. And if you haven't listened yet, we have an episode from the 3rd season, I believe, called Midwinter Musings. And we go into, it's definitely still relevant. We go into how to use this time in a positive way and the ways that the dark season of winter can actually serve us. So give that a listen too. That might be helpful if you're, this is a shorter episode. So if you're looking for something else to talk, to listen to us about, talk about.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, gosh, all of our episodes, like we have so many episodes now, I forget what we have talked about. And I think we have so much wisdom out there that not everybody has a chance to go through it. And I forget too, because we have so much going on.
Yeah. The best thing I love hearing from people is that they've binged our podcast. Like when they're like, I just caught up, I binged the whole thing. I got one great message from somebody in my Patreon community where she said, I just finished binging your podcast. I'm all caught up and I feel so lonely at work without you and Leandra.
Oh, man.
She said, more episodes, please. I said, they're coming.
Yes. I really love that because it lets us know that we are giving you something valuable to engage with. And you become like friends we never knew we had, right?
Yeah. And we hope that's what it's like for you at home. And if you'd like to interact with us at a more personal level, we'd love to have you in our communities. My Patreon community is a place where we get to ask the hard questions, and I'm available there in a personal way. And, you know, we also have weekly journal prompts, and we talk about what you can do for the new moons and the full moons. And, you know, we help each other. It's a community. It's really nice.
Yeah. And you're welcome to join me in the Rebel Mystic community, in the Rebel Mystic Academy, where I have a whole host of classes that I am currently published that are, you know, just go as you at your own pace. But then I also have new stuff coming in where it's live, and this community is directly integrated with the courses so that you can talk to me directly. You can talk to other students directly, ask questions, get answers, share experiences with each other. And this is really my goal for all of this, is to create community and create a space for all of us to exist in safety and with, you know, insight, so that we can go, oh, hey, I like that perspective. I'm going to adopt that for myself. Or I never thought of it that way. So now I have a new perspective that I can consider, type of thing.
Yeah. And we're working to build these communities online so that we can hopefully build them towards bigger goals of in-person things. So that's part of what we're manifesting this winter. But we'd love to,
I'm so excited.
To know everybody listening to this podcast in any way you're able.
Yeah, I can't wait to announce to the communities like our plans for the future. You know, once we have it all hashed out, I think we're going to do some amazing things, and I want everybody to join us and be involved.
And one way we're coming to you together is through the Magick Kitchen Pantry. It's the first space online where you can see and interact with Leandra and I in bi-monthly workshops. And it's also a space where you get the recordings of these workshops. So they're bonus episodes, essentially, that you get to participate in and also have as a backlog. So we hope you'll join us over there. You can join that through either of our communities or directly on Circle, where we host the pantry.
So our email is open at magickitchenpodcast@gmail.com for questions at any time. And we got a really great question from Mariah. Actually, I got this one through my Patreon community, but I wanted to answer it here because I think it's probably helpful for everybody. She asked what the main difference is between deity and spirit guides. So your spirit team includes both of them. And that is the entities that are invested in you. They're the spirits that care about you and like where you're going, and that you check in with when you have goals that you're working towards, or you're feeling lost, or you're feeling unsure, or you need some validation. That's who your spirit team is. And that's both your deities and your spirit guides.
I think sometimes spirit guides and deities can be the same thing. It depends on how they want to show up for you. Like for me, my two main guides are my deities.
To define deity simply, they are gods and goddesses. And the way I think of deity is they're there if we want to build a relationship with them. Mm-hmm. They don't come pre-assigned to us at birth. They're not always with us. They decide to have a relationship with us when we decide to have a relationship with them. They can call out to us and we can decide to heed that call, or we might even feel kind of forced to heed that call because they're very persistent, but they are deities. Like they have power of their own and they always will. It's not about you. And they also kind of have their own associations. So we think of Athena as wisdom. We think of Artemis as animals and hunting. We think of Bridget as poetry and creativity.
Yeah.
So you might work with deities in a liminal time. You might only work with them once. Maybe you're trying to conceive a child, so you decide to call on Demeter or Hera. And then once you conceive that child and have that child, maybe you don't have the same relationship as you did before. Other deities might stick with you for longer. That's how I see deities, whereas spirit guides are more equivalent to guardian angels, where they might have actually just been another person who passed on. They might have been somebody you're truly related to in this life. Maybe you were related to them in a past life. Maybe you were connected to them on the other side in the Akashic records, and they said, I'll guide you when you go back. Mm-hmm. They can also come to you as non-people. They can come to you as animals. They can just come to you as a voice or an intuitive message. Maybe your guides don't have a physical form with you. So they're much more personal, and they're for life. Your guides are for life.
Yeah, definitely. And, deity, we often think of, especially if you're coming from that Christian background, it's this massive power that must be obeyed and that sort of thing, where that's not true in this realm of working with spirits. Yes, if you're supposed to be working with a deity and you're ignoring them, they can come to you in a very forceful way. And I've talked about the way my patron came to me in a very forceful way, where it literally knocked me on my butt. But I had been ignoring him for a long time. And now it's funny. At the time, it wasn't funny. But my other patron that I work with, she's much more subtle. Like, she's like, you're here if you want to be, but if you don't want to be here anymore, then I'm not here either, type of thing. Like, she's much more, I guess, passive in that way, but she's the one that keeps me accountable. So working with deity can be a little more intense. Sometimes working with deity, you have to go through an initiation with them because you've got to clear things out of your life before you can work with them. And this is where we can do a whole episode on this, which I think we will, because there's so much to this. But spirit guides, like, they're just there. They don't need permission. Now, if you said, hey, I don't want to work with you anymore, they will leave you alone. Like, there's no forced relationship here, where I think when we go from coming from the Christian faith, there's always that forced relationship. You had to have a relationship with God. There's no exception. In order to be this faith, you had to have a relationship with God, even if that relationship was very narcissistic and one-sided, right?
Yeah.
In this stratosphere, it's not that way. It's very two-way. It is a free will society. We don't align ourselves because we're just told to.
Yeah.
We align because we want to be here.
And it's a relationship you have to foster. Like,
yes.
There's been points in my life where my guides were pretty quiet, and I actually got upset at one point because I was like, why are you not helping me anymore? And, basically once we got back into contact, they were like, well, because you hadn't really been listening and you were making choices that weren't really leading to the way you're supposed to be going on this path. And so that was like a huge 180 moment for me. And that's how it goes. Like, it goes up and down. Like, not everybody is aware of their guides. Sometimes you're aware and you don't know you're aware. Like, you might just call it the, like, intuition. I see a butterfly and then I get a good idea or something. Well, maybe that's your guide. Like, that's probably a message that they're sending you. And there's a meditation that we did on an episode on connecting with deity a while ago, and it's called Meeting Deity. And you can find this meditation on my YouTube channel, Seeking Numina, as well. And this meditation is to connect to deity, but it's also great for connecting with spirit guides. It's not a specific, this is who your deity will be meditation. It's actually just a meditation for you to get in the right zone and then see who comes to you. And it's very effective for meeting your guides as well. And if you're into past life regressions, a session on that can be really helpful with figuring out a little bit more about who your guides are. Maybe that they've been appearing to you and you have a relationship with them, but you don't really know why it's them, why are they my guide? Sometimes past life regressions can really help that come through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we all have a spirit team. They're there
Mm-hmm.
waiting for you to reach out if you haven't yet. And you might be surprised how much they already have.
Yeah. And I think one of the key ways to connect with them and understand who they are and what they're doing for you is to get quiet.
Yeah. To
listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something that I think a lot of people need to master on their path, is getting quiet and listening. There's a lot of people barking and being noisy out there, but are they really listening?
And join me on February 11th at noon EST if you're interested in connecting with your spirit guides in a more personal way. I'm hosting a workshop with Kelly Newton of A Nourishing Place podcast, and we're going to talk about what connecting to your spirit guides can be like and how that can look different for everybody and how you might be doing it more than you think.
Merry meet,
Merry part, and merry meet again.
Thank you for joining us on the Magick Kitchen Podcast. Please visit my website, leandrawitchwood.com, for news, information, and more episodes.
I'm Elyse Welles, and I can be found at Seeking Numina on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, and seekingnumina.com. That's Seeking, Numina.